A Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
This rookie is Johnny Spinner, and this other rookie is Brendan Cargan. And here's another rookie. This is Scott Windows in the number 22. You'll figure out where Ward Burnton went later. And this rookie is Travis Draftville. And this rookie in the number 10 is Scott Rims. And in the number 32 is Bobby Hamilton Jr. And as I said last video, Brian Vickers is a rookie in the 2004 Piston Cup season. Replacing Bill Racelot will be Casey Corner, who will go full-time in the number 9. Dave Laney finally has a new look after over 20 years in the number 23. Greg Beeple has a new sponsor with National Guard. And Kenny Wheelhouse has a new look in the number 78. Ward Burnton is now the number 0, which is why he's not the number 22 anymore. Bill Racelot will be going part-time in the number 91. Also, Casey Cartwood retired at the end of last season. And this is Ricky Carvin, who has a new look and is attempting a part-time schedule this season. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has this new look for the Florida 500. Pancake Shift Right Racing has 8 cars? How does any team have 8 cars? And these are their 8 cars. Rush Racing also has 6 cars, which they added Ernie Gearson, probably because Rush Racing has some good engines. Chevrolet Motorsports has Brian Vickers in the 25. Tony Gasswood and Bobby Carboni will be racing full-time in 2004. Ricky Carvin and Donald Morphy will both have a part-time schedule this season. Reverham Motorsports has these 4 cars, but the Anti-Chick Hicks team is the same as last season. Blaster Charger Racing is also the same as last season, but it was so uneventful that I forgot to include them last season. Alloy Wilson Racing also has everything being the same as last season with these 4 cars. The Pit Stops Revolting Crew and Speedson Racing are the same as last season. Richard Chillpaints Racing will be adding Johnny Spinner to the team. ECS2 Motorsports has Ken Schrader, Ponchi Wipeout, and Joe Brakecheck for the 2004 season. Chip Carnassi Racing and Eli Motors Racing are the same as last season, but there's a new team, Bill Drivitz Racing, who will have these 2 cars, Dave Laney and Scott Windows. DEI now only has Dale Jr. and Michael Cartrip. Hopefully they can do well. The Crazy 8s team is the same 2 cars as last season, same with the Wood Brothers Racing. And will the King ever have a teammate? David Height's car, Landon Leakspill, and Clint Speed will be attempting a part-time schedule this season. Greg Beeple will start at pole position and lead to lap 6, where he'd lose the lead to the King. The King would lead all the way to lap 13, where he'd lose the lead to the rookie, Scott Windows, who will lead for 2 laps before Chuck Hicks is 6th as of lap 15, where he wrecks Scott Windows the leader, Jeff Burnton, and Mark Carton. Hollingus will take the lead on lap 16 and lead for the next 9 laps before he'd lose the lead to Tony Gassworth, who would lead all the way to lap 59, where he'd lose the lead to Jeff Gorvette. He'd lead for the next 8 laps before he'd lose the lead to Ruby Easy Oaks. He would only be on lap 68 because he'd be passed by Kevin Shiftright, who would lead all the way to lap 111 before the King would take the lead from him, leading until lap 142. But then Murray Clutchburn would take the lead from him, leading for 30 laps. But then Casey Corner is out because of an engine failure. But Terry Carboni would take the lead on lap 173. But Eugene Komareski is 26th as of lap 173, where he wrecks Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead all the way to lap 201, where Chuck Hicks is 15th as of that lap, where he wrecks Ryan Newcar, Chuck Armstrong, Billy Oilchanger, Scott Rims, Robbie Gorvette, Jamie McCarry, Sterling Carlin, Michael Cartrip, Brian Vickers, and Johnny Blamer. Why? But the King will take the lead for just a couple laps before Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead all the way to lap 247, where he'd lose the lead to Tony Gassworth, who would lead all the way to lap 263. where he'd lose the lead to the King. The King would only lead for 5 laps before he'd lose the lead to Hollingus, who would lead all the way to lap 293, where Chick-Hicks would lead for 5 laps. But then, Todd Marcus is second as of lap 298, where he wrecks Chick-Hicks. Hooray! He's out! But Todd Marcus would take the lead for 6 laps before Hollingus would take the lead back and lead for 20 laps before the number 20 car, Tony Gasworth, would take the lead from him, leading until lap 331, where Todd Marcus would retake the lead, leading until lap 347, where Tony Gasworth would retake the lead from him. On lap 351, Todd Marcus would retake the lead all the way to lap 368, where Tony Gasworth once again takes the lead. But on lap 379, Ernie Gearson would take the lead. He'd lead until lap 383, where Eugene Karbareski would take the lead for just 3 laps. But Todd Marcus is 7th as of lap 386, where he wrecks Krusty Roder and Ernie Gearson. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead until lap 416, where Matt Karzith would take the lead from him, leading for 9 laps before Tony Gasworth would take the lead from him, leading for 12 laps before Kevin Karvik would take the lead for 10 laps. The car that take the lead from him is the King. And the King would lead all the way to lap 458, where Hollingus would take the lead again, leading until lap 489, where Tony Gasworth would take the lead from him. He'd only lead 3 laps before Dale Earnhardt Jr. would lead the final 9 laps to win the 2004 Florida 500. And here is the top 20 of the 2004 Florida 500. I almost forgot Bob Cutlass's commentary on the end of the 2004 Florida 500. The legacy continues. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the 2004 Florida 500.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
The 2004 Piston Cup Races 2 to 35 Part 1 will be out soon enough.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
This is Brick Hicks, Chick-Hicks' youngest brother, who is late for qualifying for the Florida 500. Ryan Newcar, the Rocket, will start at pole position for the second race, but then Chick-Hicks wrecks 13 cars, and Kevin Shiftwright would be out on lap 378 because of Kyle Traxon. Why? Casey Corner would only lose by 4 feet to Matt Karzith, who wins the second race of 2004. And Casey Corner gets the pole. But Chick-Hicks is down 10 laps on lap 11 because of Kyle Traxon. I don't know how to react. But Chick-Hicks is back on lead lap. Why? And Casey Corner is first with 1 to go. But Elliott Draftler will make a last lap pass to win the third race. Chuck Armstrong will start at pole position for the fourth race, where he's out on the first lap because of Chick-Hicks. Why? And he says this. Chick-Hicks, that's very mean. But he'll be suspended next race, luckily. But he only loses by 20 feet to the King. And the King wins the fourth race of 2004. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will start at pole position for the fifth race, where Murray Clochburn would lead the most laps with 174. But now he's out because of Todd Marcus. Why? And Johnny Blamer, like usual, is out on lap 342. Kevin Karvik almost won the 5th race, but in the end, he lost to the other Kevin Shiftright, who wins his very first race, the 5th race of 2004. And here's what Bob Cutlass had to say about it. And here is what his grandfather, Craig Shiftright, had to say about it. And of course his father, Clint Shiftright. Yeah, that's my boy. That's what he said. Eugene Karbareski would start at the pole for the 6th race, where he's out because of Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens, but Brick Hicks would lead his first laps, and here's what his oldest brother, Chick, would have to... He won! Why? And Jeff Corvette will start at the pole for the 7th race, where Chick Hicks would wreck 17 cars, and Jeff Burnton would somehow jump over the whole wreck. How? And Murray Clutchburn would be the winner of the 7th race. Tony Gasworth will start at the pole for the 8th race, where Chick Hicks wrecks 13 cars, and Ken Schrader is out because of Eugene Karbareski. Well, of course this happens. And Chick Hicks is luckily out on lap 336 because of Kevin Shiftright. Hooray! But now he's out and hits the wall because of Rusty Wheelhouse, who wins the 8th race. Chick Hicks will be suspended for 5 races before the 9th race, where Jeff Corvette is the car that starts on the pole. But Ward Burnton will go airborne on lap 65 because of Todd Marcus. Why? Ruby Easy Oaks is up front, but he would lose by 2 feet to James Cleanair, who gets his 4th career victory. And here is what he had to say after winning the 9th race of 2004. And the King will start at the pole for the 10th race, where he leads the most laps with 236, but he would lose the win to Jeff Corvette, who would be the winner of the 10th race of 2004. Ryan Newcar would start up front yet again, but this time for the 11th race. And Greg Beeple would go into the catch fence because of Kyle Traxon. Why? And Johnny Blamer would almost win the 11th race, but he hits the wall on the last lap, which gives the win to Kurt Busch-Tire, who wins the 11th race of 2004. The King would start at the pole for the 12th race, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. would lead the most laps with 169, but he would be down 5 laps on lap 296 because of Todd Marcus. Why? Dale Earnhardt Jr. would get back on the lead lap with 25 laps to go, but Hall Ingus would only lose by 14 feet to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's the winner of the 12th race of 2004. Casey Corner would get another pole, but this time for the 13th race, where Kevin Karvik and Matt Korzith are out on the last lap because of Kyle Traxon, who will be suspended for 8 races. Ryan Newcar would be the winner of this race, the 13th race of 2004. Kevin Shiftright will start at the pole for the 14th race, where Scott Windows would crash just moments after taking the lead. Jeremy Carfield would go airborne on lap 347 because of Tony Gasworth. Why? But Brian Vickers would be out with 4 to go, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. will only lose by 3 feet to Jeff Corvette, who wins the 14th race of 2004. Billy Oilchanger will start at pole position for the 15th race, and Who is this? This is Floyd Movilhill, who will be running a part-time schedule this season. And he leads some laps! How? It's his first race, but Greg Beeple would lead the most laps with 231. And he would almost win the 15th race if it weren't for Chick Hicks! Why is Chick Hicks winning races? Especially the 15th one. And here is what Brick Hicks had to say about his oldest brother. Kevin Shiftwright would get another pole, but this time for the 16th race where Eugene Karbareski would be out on lap 103 because of his rival, Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens, and Chick Hicks would wreck 17 cars! Luckily, Ernie Gearson wasn't one of them because he led the most laps with 151. And Tony Gasworth would be the winner of the 16th race. Jeff Gorvette will start on the pole for the 17th race where Chick Hicks would be out on lap 5 because of Manny Flywheel! Hooray! And Scott Windows would crash once again while he was in the lead. Jeff Gorvette would lead the most laps with 137, and he would win the 17th race of 2004. And he gets the pole for the very next race, the 18th race, where Brendan Cargan would get flipped by Chick Hicks! Why? The King would almost win the 18th race, but in the end, the car that started first would finish first. Jeff Gorvette winning the 18th race of 2004. Casey Gears would start at pole position for the 19th race where Horingus would be out alongside Ken Schrader on lap 16 because of Eugene Karbareski. Why? Ernie Gearson would be first with 2 to go, but he cuts a tire, which is bad, and this allows Jeff Gorvette to win his 3rd race in a row with the 19th race of 2004. Scott Windows will start at the pole for the 20th race where he crashes while he's in the lead yet again. But Chick Hicks is at fault for this one. Why? Rusty Wheelhouse would somehow jump over Chick Hicks. Casey Corner would once again get 2nd place, but it's to Chick Hicks, who wins his 3rd race this year with the 20th race. And he'll be suspended for the rest of the season because he cheated in qualifying for the 21st race, where Horingus will start first. And Todd Marcus would wreck 15 cars. Why? And his team owner, Kyle Traxon, would win the 21st race. And since he was also cheating, he'll be suspended for the rest of the season. Joe Brakecheck would start at the pole for the 22nd race where Slider Petrolski would be out for 5 races after hitting the wall really hard. Jeff Burnton jumps over it and gets hit somehow. Elliot Draftler would get flipped on the last lap, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be the winner of the 22nd race. Jeff Burnton is fired from Rush Racing, and he joins Richard Chilpaint's Racing in the number 31. Robbie Gorvette would leave the team and become the number 7. Carl Edwards would replace Jeff Burnton at Rush Racing in the number 99. He'll race for the rest of the season. Matt Karzith, his new teammate, will start at pole position for the 23rd race, where Chuck Armstrong goes into the catch fence because of John Hicks, who will be suspended for the rest of the season because of what he did. The King would almost win the 23rd race, but in the end, Mark Carton, who is very good at this track, will win the 23rd race. Jeff Burnton will start at pole position for the 24th race, where Billy Oilchanger would lead the most laps with 274. Every single lap is led by an orange car this race, except for the last one, where Winford Bradford Rutherford will take home his first win with the 24th race of 2004. This is also the first race that Team RPM won since Don Chapcar died. In 1988, Jeff Gorvette will start at the pole for the 25th race, where Tony Gasworth would lead the most laps with 150, and Ralph Carlo would be out for the season because of Eugene Karbareski. Why? Were you trying to wreck Ken Schrader again? Oh, he's out now because of Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens, but Jeff Gorvette would almost win the 25th race, but in the end, he lost to Elliot Draftler, who gets his third win overall with the 25th race of 2004. Jeff Gorvette will start at pole position for the 26th race, where Kevin Shiftwright would lead the most laps with 361, but he loses fuel in the closing laps of the race, where Floyd Movelhill will almost win, leading on the final lap, but the King would take the lead from him to win the 26th race of 2004. And here is the top 20 as of the end of the 26th race of 2004. Chick Hicks should not be expected to stay in the top 20 for obvious reasons.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Kevin Shiftwright will start at pole position for the 27th race, where Brick Hicks would lead the most laps with 368, and Tony Gasworth loses a tire while racing. Jeff Burnton would somehow jump over the tire. I don't know. And Sterling Carlin would go airborne on lap 445 because of Todd Marcus. Why? And Dale Earnhardt Jr. would almost win the 27th race, but in the end, Harlingus would win the 27th race of 2004. Jeremy Carfield would start at pole position for the 28th race, where Kurt Busch-Tire would lead the most laps with 381, but Darren Ledfoot would only lose by one car length to the King, who would win the 28th race of 2004. Murray Clutchburn would start at the pole for the 29th race, where the King would lead for 10 laps with his eyes closed. Krusty Roeder would be out next race because of Sammy Smelter. That's gross! Ernie Gearson and Ricky Slodd both lost the 29th race to Joe Brakecheck, who gets his very first win with the 29th race of 2004. No one in this frame has won in the last 9 years. Billy Oilchanger would start at the pole for the 30th race, where the King would lead the most laps with 271, and Casey Corner would be out on lap 405, but his teammate Jeremy Carfield would be the winner of the 30th race of 2004. Jeff Gorvette would start at the pole for the 31st race, where Ricky Slodd is out because of Kevin Carvick. Why? But Eugene Karbareski is out on lap 152 because of Ken Schrader. Well, of course this happens. But Kurt Busch-Tire is out on lap 287. Kurt Busch-Tire, don't say that word! Bobby Carboni would be out on the last lap, but since the King was in the lead, he is the winner of the 31st race. Chuck Armstrong would start at pole position for the 32nd race, but sadly, Mike Yankee died. He died as a result of a heat stroke. When he was racing, he overheated from his heat stroke, and then he died. And here is what some other racers had to say. Here's what Jeff Gorvette, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and the King had to say about Mike Yankee's death. Darren Leadfoot would go on to win the 32nd race, but here is what Darren Leadfoot had to say. Hopefully, the Piston Cup officials will learn their lesson and improve the cooling systems. Ruby Easy Oaks would start at the pole for the 33rd race, where Todd Marcus wrecks 20 cars! Why? But Carl Edwards would lead for half the track for 30 laps. Casey Corner would only lose by 15 feet to Kurt Busch-Tire, who would win the 33rd race of 2004. Kevin Shiftwright would start at the pole for the 34th race, where Ken Schrader is out because of Eugene Karboretsky. Well, of course this happens. Mark Burnsley would be out on lap 349 because of Tony Gasworth. Why? And Kevin Shiftwright would only lose by 1 foot to Billy Oilchanger, who would be the winner of the 34th race. And look how close that is, but not as close as the 5th race of 2003. The Rocket Ryan Newcar will start at the pole for the 35th race, where Brick Hicks is out on lap 8 because of Todd Marcus, who will be suspended for the rest of the season and the first 5 races of next season. Scott Windows crashes while in the lead again. How? But Ryan Newcar would almost win the 35th race, but in the end, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win this race. And this sets him up to win the 2004 Piston Cup, assuming that he can beat Jeff Gorvette. The King and Kurt Busch-Tire are here, just in case if Jeff Gorvette does really badly in the Dynaco 400. But these 4 cars are going to have to wait another season to win the Piston Cup. Or in Tony Gasworth and Matt Karzeth's case, again.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
The 2004 Dynaco 400 will be coming out soon enough.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Billy Ford will be retiring at the end of the season, and so will Terry Carboni, but he'll be retiring from full-time racing. Billy Ford was unable to qualify for his last race, but who did is Sage Vanderspin, who will be the full-time racer for Team Gaskets in 2005. And this is Kyle Busch-Tire, the younger brother of Kurt Busch-Tire, who will also be racing full-time in 2005, replacing Terry Carboni. Murray Clutchburn will start at pole position, leading for the first 17 laps before the King would take the lead from him, leading until lap 42. But then, Ken Schrader is 31st as of lap 40, where he wrecks Eugene Karboretsky. Well, of course he does. And Kevin Shiftwright would lead to lap 43 after the restart. But then, Kurt Busch-Tire would take the lead from him, leading all the way to lap 92, where Bobby Carboni would take the lead from him, only leading for a single lap, before Sage Vanderspin in his very first start would lead until lap 98. Jeff Gorvette would take the lead from him, leading until lap 105, but then Ricky Sludd would be 11th as of lap 105, where Kevin Carvick, his rival, Chuck Armstrong, Brick Hicks, and Michael Cartrip are out! And Ernie Gearson would take the lead until lap 113, where he'd lose the lead to Tony Gasworth, who leads for 30 laps before he'd lose the lead to Greg Beeple. Greg Beeple would lead until lap 149, where he'd lose the lead to Ryan Newcar, who would lead all the way to lap 156, where Masterson would be third as of lap 156, where he wrecks Ryan Newcar, the leader, Krusty Rotor, Misty Motocross, Kajimo Mikno, and Johnny Blamer. Claude Scruggs, of course, had something to say. Greg Beeple would retake the lead and lead all the way to lap 184, but Ward Burton is out on lap 161 because of an engine failure. And the King would take the lead and lead to lap 199, where Bobby Carboni would take the lead from him, leading for 37 laps before Jeff Burnton would take the lead from him, leading until lap 243, where his old teammate Matt Karzith would take the lead for 12 laps, before his current teammate Kurt Busch-Tire would lead for 40 laps before Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead from him, leading until lap 298, where the King would take the lead from him, leading until lap 304, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. retakes the lead for 2 laps before Ricky Slood would be 25th as of lap 307, where he eliminates himself and Ernie Gearson somehow. Terry Carboni would take the lead until lap 314, where Mark Carton would take the lead from him, leading all the way to lap 350 before helping his teammate Kurt Busch-Tire take the lead for 15 laps. But on lap 365, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would retake the lead, leading until lap 369, where Jeff Corvette would take the lead for a single lap on lap 370, but then the King would take the lead from him, leading for 7 laps before Kurt Busch-Tire would take the lead from him. On lap 382, he'd lose the lead to Kevin Shiftwright, who would lead for 4 laps before Jeff Corvette would take the lead from him, leading until lap 392, where Mark Burnsley is out because he hit the wall really hard. The King would take the lead from him, leading until lap 396, where Jeff Corvette would only lead for 1 lap before losing the lead to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who would lead all the way till turn 2 of the final lap. But then Jeff Corvette passes him on lap 400 to win the 2004 Dynaco 400. But here is the finish of the 2004 Dynaco 400. Dale Earnhardt Jr. only lost by 1 foot to Jeff Corvette, who wins the 2004 Piston Cup. This is the closest finish in the Dynaco 400. And that means that Jeff Corvette also wins his second Piston Cup, with Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming in second. The King comes in third, and Kurt Busch-Tire in fourth. Kevin Shiftwright came in 5th this season, way better than his previous seasons. Elliott Draftmore also did better this season, finishing in the top 10. Mark Carton recovered from last season, finishing 6th. Maury Clutchburn finishes 11th this season, and Jeremy Carfield in 12th. Matt Karzith, last year's champion, finishes 8th this season. Jeff Burnton, in the 99 and the 31 this season, finishes 21st. Michael Cartrip fails to finish in the top 20 again. Chuck Armstrong, the champion from 4 seasons ago, finishes behind Ruby Easy Oaks, who finishes 24th. He had a good season this season. And Jamie McCarry finished 26th. I don't know why this matters, but Chick Hicks finishes 31st, mostly because he had 3 wins this season. Bobby Carboni, who failed to get a win this season, finishes 13th. And next is Casey Corner, the rookie, who came 2nd place 5 times this season without a win. Kevin Carvick comes 15th, and also Ernie Gearson had 0 engine failures this season, and he came 30th this season. Eugene Karbareski and Ken Schrader came 32nd and 33rd respectively. Missy Motocross comes in 34th, and Casey Gears in 35th. I don't know why this happened, but he finished ahead of Ricky Slood, probably because he wrecked out a couple times. Hollingus is back in the top 20, finishing 19th this season. Dale Carr is also back in the top 20, finishing 18th. Sterling Carlin is out of the top 20, finishing 23rd. Mark Burnsley finished 38th, way worse than last season, but last season was a good season for him. Ward Burnton also did worse, finishing 37th. Todd Marcus, who spent a lot of the season suspended, finishes 39th this season. But his boss Kyle Traxon, who won a race, fails to finish in the top 40. 40th place is Darren Ludfoot, who just barely beat Scott Windows and Greg Beeple King 20th.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Next season is the 2005 Piston Cup season. And I know that you've all been waiting for almost 2 years for the 2005 Piston Cup season. The first race, the 2005 Florida 500, will be coming out soon enough.